NFL free agency is less than 24 hours away. The Vikings don't have that much cap space, but they can make that happen very easily. So if you want the Vikings to be aggressive and sign a big-time free agent, I want you to like this video right now. Some juicy Vikings trade rumors out there right now. I am Tom Downey from Minnesota Vikings Now by Chat Sports, and we begin with Deshaun Watson, as he is now cleared of criminal charges, not going to face any of those the grand jury met, and they are not bringing charges right now. That means trade talks have picked up, and a deal is expected at some point in the very near future. I would be surprised if we got to the new league year on March 16th without a trade of Deshaun Watson. Could come Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but I think this deal goes down in the very near future. And per Pro Football Network's Aaron Wilson, a former Texans beat writer, there are several teams who are investigating a potential trade of Deshaun Watson. The big three who have been linked maybe the most heavily so far: the Carolina Panthers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the New Orleans Saints, with the Saints and Panthers mentioned earlier today by Ian Rappaport. Three others are also at least doing their due diligence: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Cleveland Browns, interestingly enough, and the Minnesota Vikings. Watson to Minnesota would undoubtedly be expensive. You're expecting probably just as much, more likely more, than what the Seahawks got for Russell Wilson, which was multiple picks, multiple players. Texans allegedly want 3 first-round picks and more, and that makes sense for a player of Deshaun Watson's caliber. The concern about trading for him was always the off the field, and yes, he still could face an NFL suspension for for the accusations against him. But given that the criminal charges are no more, that situation appears to be resolved, you're not going to go to jail. So you are much more comfortable playing for Deshaun, even if he faces a potential 6-game suspension or whatever by the NFL. You add Deshaun Watson, there's your franchise QB. Now you got to go ship off Kirk Cousins, who we'll spend some more time about here in a little bit as another potential trade option for Minnesota. There are several names they could shop. But Deshaun Watson would instantly give this team a franchise QB for the next 5 to 6 years, and frankly, it's probably more like 10 years, but he is under contract for 4 years plus 2 franchise tags, so at least one tag, 5, 6, you get where I'm coming from in the math. But talent-wise, you're talking a very long period of time for Deshaun Watson being under contract. So, in theory, this is your guy long-term. This is the situation you're searching for, and you have your franchise QB. But it would be expensive. That level of cost is a big problem, or at least a potential red flag. But maybe Houston wants to trade him to the NFC. That helps you out a little bit there. So would you trade for Deshaun Watson, who has a no-trade clause? By the way, he'd have to want to come to Minnesota. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So get the ad break on YouTube. Go take advantage of it. Type in T for trade or P for pass. On the flip side of the trade rumors today, there's buzz, reports, claims, maybe I'll call them, from Jason La Canfora that the Vikings might be sellers. They might be shipping off some of their larger contracts in an effort to set themselves up for the future, given the massive cap hit Kirk Cousins has this year. He's a free agent next year. They don't have that much flexibility. Could they look to rebuild with Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi-Adofo-Mensah? That's what JLC reports. Here's what he said. Quote, several executives intimated that they expect the Vikings to make multiple transactions. Much of the chatter has focused on Kirk Cousins and his huge contract and massive cap hit. But in general, league sources said the new regime in Minnesota is open to dealing several of their more high-priced veterans to try to reset the cap situation, add more draft picks, and prepare for the future. And the sense among some of the execs I spoke to is that the Vikings seem to understand that they aren't in position, by and large, to hit home runs with these trades, which are more like salary dumps. Receiver Adam Thielen, linebacker Eric Kendricks, defensive tackle Michael Pierce, and even running back Dalvin Cook are names making the rounds. I'd be surprised if a few were not moved. Now, we're going to go player by player here, but be careful with La Canfora reports. Sometimes they're true. Russell Wilson. A lot of stuff's been said by JLC over the years that just wasn't true at all. Michael Pierce being on that list absolutely makes sense. Hell, he's a possible cut candidate for this team. And we know the trade rumors have been around Kirk Cousins for a very long period of time. The Vikings want to keep him long term. If they do, maybe it's time for an extension. You don't really want to have him play on a $45 million cap hit. But the comments coming out from the organization about Cousins seem to have been not as effusive in praise as they were when O'Connell was first hired. Now, these other names on the block are interesting. Adam Thielen's touchdowns were great. The yards were down this year, though. Again, Justin Jefferson's so heavily involved, it makes sense, but Thielen's a number one receiver. You save less than $6 million by shipping off Thielen. Doesn't really help you that much. Of course, you save more in 2023. Eric Kendricks, meanwhile, that makes some sense. You save over 7.5 if you really want to rebuild your linebacking core. I could understand that one. Dalvin Cook? Really? He's still good at football. He's not like a Zeke Elliott or even an injured Christian McCaffrey with low value. You're shopping key pieces of your entire organization, so unless you want to absolutely blow it up, I don't see the benefit of trading away guys like Cook and Thielen. By the way, trading Dalvin Cook, $2.7 million. Okay? Doesn't actually save you much money at all. So I want you to name a player you think the Vikings should trade. Who do you not really want anymore on this roster? Drop a name for me here in the comments section. Let's talk Tyler Conklin now, as Conklin said he wants to return to the Vikings, although he is open to leaving because money, right? The tight end market with David Njoku, Dalton Schultz, etc., no longer available on the Mike Gesicki's the other one too, of course. They're all franchise tagged. Conklin has a very real chance to get starting reps and starting money elsewhere. Here's what he told Chris Thomason, one of the key Minnesota Vikings beat writers here. Impending free agent Tyler Conklin, who in 2021 became just the fifth different tight end in Vikings history to have a 60-catch year. Quote, I would love to be back in Minnesota if it makes sense for both parties, but I don't have those answers. But I love Minnesota. My girlfriend loves Minnesota. I get that for Conklin. Irv Smith, in theory, is going to be tight end one for this organization next year. And given a team like the Jets, a team like the Jags, etc., are in such desperate and dire straits for tight end help, I would wager that Conklin gets more than what Minnesota is willing to pay, and they lose him on the open market, which is unfortunate, but hey, comp pick could be coming as a result of that. March Madness is here, and if you want to bet on college basketball beyond just doing your bracket this year, do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125. It'll get you a 125% deposit bonus. $100 in is the minimum deposit there to get the bonus. That gets you 125%, up to $600. The odds, by the way, the current title odds this year, Gonzaga still the betting favorite. Maybe this is the year for the Zags. I hope it is, after all. Kentucky's plus 700. Duke, by the way, dipping after a bit of a not great early March run for the Blue Devils and Coach K's alleged last year. I wonder if he could still come back. Wouldn't that be that big of a surprise as far as I'm concerned? Anyway, chatsports.com/bet, promo code CHAT125. Could the Vikings go out and sign Kareem Jackson? This idea floated by ESPN. They went through one perfect fit for each NFL team. They picked Jackson for Minnesota, which I get where they're coming from here. You know, starting safety Xavier Woods, well, he's a free agent. And Jackson knows this defense well from his time together with Ed Donatel in Denver. So you're adding a veteran, probably a shorter-term deal with not that much money, to help accelerate your adjustment to this new defense, bring some veteran leadership. I think that makes sense. Here was ESPN's pitch as to why Jackson to Minnesota makes sense. New Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell has added Jackson's previous defensive coordinator, Ed Donatel, to his staff in Minnesota. That familiarity makes the Vikings a natural landing spot for Jackson if Denver isn't looking to bring him back. Jackson's ability to stick with receivers and man coverage isn't going to improve as he pushes towards 34 years old, but he still brings a high football IQ and quality run support to the middle of a defense. He could pair with Harrison Smith for a year before Minnesota looks to get younger at the position. It's a pretty good argument there. Jackson is still a good tackler. His coverage numbers did go down this past year. Only 2 pass breakups, 1 INT. He is not in his prime anymore. But if you want to pair Jackson with Harrison Smith, I'm okay with that. I do want to see Cameron Bynum sooner rather than later, and I do wonder who would be your true free safety. But Denver likes to use a lot of split safety coverage. We should say Denver last year used split safety, so Jackson and Smith fit that fairly well. So what do you think? Should the Vikings sign Kareem Jackson? Why for yes they should, and for no they should not? When, not if, when the Vikings make a move, and they will, we're going to break it down for you guys. We got some great coverage planned for you this offseason. We'll do the news. We'll do tracker updates, recaps, grades, etc. of all the big-time moves that happen for Minnesota. If that's something you want, which it should be, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. Before we go with free agency here, 5 free agents for Minnesota to watch, or Vikings free agents to watch. Anthony Barr, does he come back? Does he move to the 3-4 outside linebacker role, or does he go get big money elsewhere? We'll see. Patrick Peterson and Mackensie Alexander, both free agents. I would like to bring back Patrick Peterson. I might have said Patterson. I meant Peterson. Alexander can go as a nickel. Sheldon Richardson might not be a great scheme fit, and frankly, I would let Nick Vigil leave. And by the way, as you lose free agents, you do get potential comp picks back as well, which is always a nice thing for a team always in the market for more draft capital.